Hi, my name is Kerry Critchlow from RCR Recording Studios, and today we're going to be talking about breaking the rules. Now, first and foremost, I believe that you need to learn the rules before you can break them. And this came up because of conversations I've had with people I've worked with and just fun conversations throughout my life. And I'm sure we've all heard the story of, some person that comes out of nowhere, breaks all the rules, upends whatever industry they happen to be in, and becomes unfathomably successful because of it. And those people absolutely exist. And the reason that they are able to break the rules is because they they learned them first, right? And I've had so many people think that you can kind of luck into it, and you can to an extent, but knowing which rules to break is really the main thing that you want to grasp your mind around, right? Because you can break rules, and instead of being rewarded for it, you get punished for it. And what we want to do is figure out how to get the rewards and not the punishment from breaking the rules. And so when you break the rules, you really need to learn what they are first so that you don't accidentally get sent to jail, so to speak, right? And so a few questions to ask yourself are, what are the rules? How do you learn them? And then how do you break them, right? And so we'll start with what are the rules. And each category is going to have its own inherent rules that you should learn, right? And these can include writing, production, recording, mixing, marketing, touring, and anything else that you can kind of think of when it comes specifically to the music industry. Now, we can kind of like briefly go through when it comes to like writing music, for instance. What kind of structure are you using? Are you rhyming your words or not rhyming your words? Are you using conventional chord progressions or non-conventional chord progressions? What kind of melodies are you using? When it comes to production, what kind of instrumentation are you using? What kind of sounds? What kind of vibes? What kind of things are you doing in order to push the sonic boundaries, right? When it comes to recording, you have stuff like signal flow and gain staging and making sure the instruments are in tune and all sorts of things, right? And we can go on and on and on. Each of these things is going to have its own inherent set of rules. And when you learn them, you can start to creatively break the rules. So, for instance, when you're writing, maybe instead of choosing a conventional chord progression, you choose an unconventional chord progression. Or when it comes to production, instead of using sounds that are typically found in the genre that you're working in, maybe you use instrumentation or sounds outside of that genre. But you want to do it in intentional ways and know why you're doing it, right? The second thing we're going to look at is, how do you learn them? Well, the easiest way is to just find people who are already successful and do what they did. You can also call that like studying the greatest of all times, right? So one way you can do it is to listen to music that is already very successful and figure out what it is the artist did in order to create that song. What kind of song structure did they use? What kind of production did they use? How was it recorded? How was it mixed? How was it marketed? What did they do on tour? What kind of things did they do in order to get the sounds or the success that they gained, right? And you want to invest in knowledge, right? So if there's a place that you can go to that will teach you these rules, like a book or a website or a video on YouTube or whatever it is, find people who already have the success or already know the rules, and then you can learn what those rules are. And then how do you break them? Well, there's two ways: intentionally with a purpose in mind, and accidentally through trial and error. Now, I personally prefer the intentionally with a purpose in mind because it's much more likely that you will be rewarded and not punished for breaking those rules. Whereas if you accidentally through trial and error do it, that can lead to a lot of pain and suffering along the way. And so if you want to avoid pain and suffering, I would highly recommend breaking the rules with intentionality and with a purpose in mind, right? And so one other concept that I want to kind of touch on here real quickly is that, let's say that there's 5 rules of writing. I'm sure that there's more than that, but let's just say that there's 5 rules of writing music. the more rules you break within that process, the higher chance you will be punished for it, right? So if there's the rules of writing, if you break one of the rules, there's a good chance you might be rewarded for it. If you break two, there's a decent chance you might be rewarded for it. But if you break 4 or 5 of those rules, the chances are you're going to be punished and not rewarded. And then the same thing for all of these things, right? The more rules you break, the more you risk punishment. Now, there is a risk reward, meaning if you go ahead and break 4 or 5 of the rules and are rewarded for it, that reward might be astronomically high. So take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. Ultimately, you need to do what you feel is right, but learning the rules can help you figure out which rules to break. So for when you're writing a song, for instance, again, sorry to come back to this, but when you're writing a song, maybe one of the rules you break is instead of having a conventional chord progression, you use an unconventional chord progression, but you use a standard song structure with lyrics that rhyme and have an easily understandable sort of pattern so that people can grab on and listen. Well, that unconventional chord progression will be the thing that kind of makes your song stick out a little bit, whereas everything else is going to be familiar, and people like what's familiar. They also crave something new, so you don't want it to be just a carbon copy. But in a previous video, I kind of talked about this, but you want to be just kind of left of center when you're, or you want to be just enough over the edge of novel, but not so far that you alienate people that might be into your music, right? So you want to keep it familiar but novel. I know it's a tough balancing act, but like I said, each of these rules is going to have an impact on your music, on your career, on everything. And the more you learn these rules, the better chance you can then break certain rules in a way that other people will reward you for instead of punishing you for, right? So anyways, I hope this has been helpful. I hope you guys have yourselves a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.